Hello. Welcome back. We're going to jump in on a very important topic, one that I've been seeking the answers to for a little bit now, and that is the topic about modesty. Especially with my move coming up, I am going to be moving to Miami in about 2 months. The conversation of modesty has really come up a lot in my mind. I've questioned my stance on modesty. What does modesty look like for me? How do I feel about my fashion when it comes to following the Bible as a godly woman? And there's just so many questions that came up about modesty. And recently, I have truly taken a path of holiness and have been working on my modesty overall. And I think I've done a really good job. But when we are exploring a new concept, we tend to explore to the extreme. And then the pendulum swings back, and then we eventually find ourselves getting into a space of balance. And so the conversation of modesty did come up because I feel like I may have swung too far on one side of the pendulum and really started to cover up my body a lot more extremely. And now I'm looking back and I'm like, I mean, I covered up my body a lot, yes, because it's been winter season and it just makes sense. Obviously, I get cold very easily. But now that summer's coming around, now that I'm moving to Miami, I really had to dive into how I feel about modesty. And so I hope that this conversation is going to be useful for you to help determine what modesty is for you and what it is like to pursue modesty as a godly woman. So let's dive in. Okay. So, first of all, obviously, as a godly woman who is in pursuit of holiness and sanctification, I have to ask, what does the Bible say about modesty? Now, the Bible talks about modesty, but it's far less focused on clothing rules and far more concerned with the spirit behind how we present ourselves. So, in 1 Timothy 2:9-10, it says, I also want the women to dress modestly, with decency and propriety, adorning themselves not with elaborate hairstyles or gold or pearls or expensive clothes, but with good deeds. Now, if you read the Bible very surface level and you do not dive into the deeper meaning of it from an outside perspective, and if you're just scanning, it sounds like what he's saying is don't wear gold, don't wear flashy items, don't wear nice things, like humble yourselves, dress like a hobo basically, and like nothing flashy, right? That's what it sounds like. But if you actually pick apart the words that he chooses to say, where he says, not with expensive clothes, but with good deeds, then you can really start to dive into what I think he was actually trying to say. And what I believe he was trying to say is do not cherish your clothing and the attire and the expensiveness and the materialism of it over your heart posture. Where is your heart and intention behind dressing the way that you do? It is basically saying that your identity and your influence should come from your character and not from your outward appearance, right? In 1 Peter 3:3-4, it says, your beauty should not come from outward adornment. Rather, it should be from that of your inner self, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is of great worth in God's sight. So Peter echoes the same truth. It basically says that true beauty is spiritual and not superficial. So again, it's not necessarily about the exact garments and fabrics and clothes that you wear, but again, going back into your heart posture, going back into how you define your character. Are you trying to dress a certain way because you're trying to attract a certain person? Are you doing it so that you can uphold your ego? Are you doing it so that you appear wealthy or like you're putting up a facade? I think all of these questions are very important and absolutely play a role in how you dress. And then I had to ask the next question. What about Adam and Eve being naked, right? I feel like I've asked this question a couple of times because in the beginning, we were naked. We were man and woman, completely naked. And it wasn't until Eve took the apple from the tree and gained knowledge, then she became aware, right? They became aware of their nakedness and then they felt shame. It wasn't because of their nakedness that God was angry with them. The thing that tainted them was their consciousness, right? They became aware that they were naked. So again, this is all boiling down to perception and consciousness and how you feel when you dress the way that you do. Now, I can say honestly and openly, when I used to dress more provocatively, it had a specific intention to draw in that kind of lure. It was because I wanted to look sexy, because I wanted to attract the opposite sex. I used to say it was an expression of my femininity and that it was a power statement that I can dress however I want and yada, yada, but it was all for my ego. It was all to speak a certain image, and it absolutely attracted the people who were drawn to that, which obviously was not drawing in the right type of man. I mean, my dating history shows that. So it really depends on your level of consciousness. What are you aware of? Are you doing it for the right reasons? Are you doing it for you and to please God, or are you doing it to please the world, right? But to say that wearing more fabric pleases God versus a woman who is wearing a bikini at a beach, like I don't think God really cares about that. He didn't care when we were running around naked. It was a level of consciousness that made us feel that shame. In Genesis 2:25, Adam and Eve were naked and not ashamed because sin hadn't entered yet. There was no lust, no pride, no objectification, only pure innocence. But after the fall, which is in Genesis 3:7, their eyes were opened and they realized they were naked. They tried to cover themselves and God eventually provided them garments. So what changed? Not God's view, but our consciousness. Sin brought in lust, it brought in shame, fear, and distortion. So modesty became a protective measure, not punishment. Okay. It really just depends on where you are. Context matters, right? But modesty was absolutely used as a way to protect ourselves, not a punishment. Not that God is going to smite us the minute we decide to show a little bit more skin. Now, here's the next question that I had to ask. Is modesty a man-made control mechanism? A very strong question, right? Especially as a woman who's trying to figure out why nothing in the Bible was written by women. Okay, why is there not a book about Mary? She was Jesus's closest follower, like one of his first disciples. Where's her book? Okay, anyways, before I rant. Is modesty a man-made control mechanism? Now, I do believe that it can be, right? But no one is going to know for sure. No one can fully interpret the Bible and say that it is truth. It is only going to be what is true to you, right? Because it's all our own interpretation. So throughout history, religious cultures has added unnecessary legalism around women's bodies. Because back then, women were not really seen as an equal partner. They were more of a property. The man used to sell their women. They used to sell their daughters in order to create alliances and allegiances. We used to be almost on the same scale as a very prized goat, right? We were not seen as much value back then. Okay. So yes, there is some things throughout history that are absolutely contorted to make sense in a man-driven world. Now, this legalism and this control over women's body was often rooted through fear, control, and misunderstanding rather than being spirit-led wisdom. So again, women's wisdom was not outwardly accepted. We weren't even allowed to be let into certain rooms. There was a lot of oppressive things that happened to women throughout the years, and we just started getting more women's rights about 100 years ago. So if you think about it, on the grand scheme of things and how long humans have been around, really not that long. I don't want to say that modesty itself is oppressive, but I do want to say that when modesty is rooted in love for God and for others, then modesty truly becomes a beautiful boundary that honors both the body and the soul. Going back to the whole concept of modesty is a protective measure, it is a boundary to protect yourself from attracting the wrong people, from drawing in the wrong crowd, for filling your mind with ego, right? Then I think that there is a level of modesty that is important to withhold. And again, I'm tying this back into context and location and circumstances and situations, right? You don't have to fully cover up your entire body if you're going to go swimming at the beach. I think God is going to be okay with that. I also think it's fine to wear workout clothes at the gym when you're going to work out, right? We all have difference of opinions. For me, true modesty isn't really about hiding your body. It's really about revealing your heart, checking in on your heart posture. Why are you dressing the way that you are? Is it coming from a space of, I just love the fabrics that I'm wearing and it feels good, it makes me feel pretty? Then cool, like great. But if it's truly coming from a place to sexualize yourself, to draw in the wrong crowd, to fill up your ego, then again, reconsider the way you're dressing. So, what about shorts and summer clothes and beach clothes and all of that, right? This is really, again, going back to your level of comfort and your level of discernment. If you feel comfortable dressing in a bikini at the beach, then by all means, wear your bikini at the beach. Don't let other people come in and tell you that you are a this, that, and the third, that you are a vixen, that you are a harlot. Like, don't let these people judge you just because they themselves feel uncomfortable with it. Like, it is not your job or duty to guide people through their own journey, through their own temptations, through their own connection with God. Yes, I get the whole concept about not wanting to allow your brothers to stumble, but I also believe that if a brother is struggling with lust, then that is a journey that only God can heal him from. No matter how much clothes you put on your body, I don't think that that is going to prevent a man with extreme lust from acting out on it if he cannot control himself, right? There's no way to control that. Only he can control that with God. The reason why I say that, and before I used to have a different opinion, because I truly did feel bad when I would cause my brother to stumble if I was just wearing like a cute crop top, right? But after talking to my husband and the way that he deals with lust, we actually had a conversation about lust, which I find it so fascinating because I'm so glad we're at a level of comfort where we can have these discussions. I actually asked him if he struggles with lust and what his perception of lust is. His response was beautiful. He was honest. He said, "Yeah, I absolutely have felt lust. It's not that he doesn't look at other women. He can appreciate a woman for her beauty, but because he is a man of God and he intentionally makes sure he keeps himself in integrity and in check, he is proactive about the lust. He chooses to look away. He has enough control of himself that if a beautiful woman walks down the street, he might glance like as a knee-jerk reaction, but he is in control of himself, that he doesn't allow his lust to go any further. So he turns away. He'll literally look the other way. He just doesn't. He just doesn't do it. Same thing with Instagram, right? It automatically pumps these pictures of girls who are basically naked and definitely in the OF space, right? But because he is proactive in making sure he doesn't fall into lust, he spent a good amount of time going in on guy pages, like pages of men that he who he is inspired by or respects. And he goes in and like comments, he engages with them, he likes their posts so that the algorithm can pick up that he doesn't care about naked women. He actually cares about men and what they're doing and workout things. If I go to his For You page, it's all guys. It's all about dudes talking about relationships and man stuff. I think that's pretty cool. It really just depends on the man, but I personally don't feel like it's my responsibility to make sure that no brother ever, like, never lusts after me. Because the fact of the matter is, a male, if he struggles with lust, he will find something to lust over no matter how many clothes you put on. I have men who go on my pages and comment on my belly button. If I wear sandals, I have men who will comment on my feet. If I wore everything from head to toe and only showed my eyes, I'm sure that there would be some lust even in eyes, right? Like, eyes can be seen as a sexual thing. So again, it's impossible to prevent a man who is so driven by lust to stop looking at you lustfully if that's what he struggles with. That is up to him to learn how to be proactive in that and understand that his lust is something that he needs to work on. Context matters, where you wear this stuff. It matters where your heart is in all of this. What is your true intent with wearing what you wear? The other question you want to ask yourself about your modesty journey is whether or not what you wear is drawing attention to your body or your spirit. For example, if I go to a networking event and I wear a cute button down shirt, a plain white button down shirt, let's just say that, and a skirt, right? Cool. There's a difference of if I'm going to unbutton the shirt a little bit too down here versus buttoning it up so that no one can see. The intention behind that is going to be very specific, right? Like, I'm not going to unbutton it down so you can see my cleavage because I know that that's going to draw people to my breast, right? Whereas if I were to button it up, but I'm still wearing the same fabrics because I like the outfit, I think it's cute, there's a difference. Same thing goes with like some of the skirts that I have. I have some skirts that are very cute and flowy and like crop top, and they do have a deep V cut, but I wear it not because I'm trying to gain attention from other men. It's because it just makes me feel beautiful. I love wearing it. I like to see the different jewelry pieces I can match with it. So it really just depends on the intention behind it. Am I doing it for me or am I doing it for others? Am I doing it to please myself and God? I think God is pleased when you feel happy about your outfit and you don't feel insecure. I think he's pleased when you're not doing it to draw in your ego or to increase your ego. I think he's happy and pleased when you just are happy and pleased with the outfit. You don't feel out of place. You feel like your heart is in the right place. You're dressing for you. I think he's pleased with that, right? These are my key takeaways about modesty. Number one, modesty is a heart issue first. It's about humility, wisdom, and honor, not shame or restriction. Number two, culture does not define modesty. If you go back a couple years, you'll actually see that the culture and the definition of modesty has absolutely changed over the years. There are some cultures that their level of modesty is a lot more strict. Culture itself shouldn't define modesty. God does. I truly believe that he invites you to walk out in freedom and not fear. So again, everybody is on their own personal journey with this. If you feel convicted for wearing that short skirt, and if you're asking, is this too much? Maybe it is. Maybe it is, right? So it really just depends where you are at in your journey. I started off dressing very provocatively, and it took me some time to figure out what modesty looked like for me. And now I feel like I'm at a really good balance. I now wear things like this that are fully covered up, and I love it and I feel beautiful. And then, when I move to Miami, I'll probably be wearing really beautiful flowy skirts with crop tops and like maybe even a deep V cut. It really just depends on the day and like my mood and the weather and who I'm around. Number three, what's appropriate in one setting may not be appropriate in another. Use your discernment, use your judgment. The Holy Spirit is there with you, convicting you when it's time and if it's time. And so just use your judgment, be able to gauge the situation that you're in. If you are going out to a nightclub, okay, cool, wear that cute dress, it's fine to wear a cute dress. But if you are going to a networking event where the intention is to meet business professionals, then maybe dress more business casual and a little more conservative, right? Check in on how you feel. Do you feel comfortable? Where's your heart at in all of this? Number four, do not shame others or yourself. Modesty, it's not a contest where you gain some spiritual badge. It is an expression of inner peace and maturity. Again, when you are shaming others, there is oftentimes a judgment or something that is happening with you that you probably haven't checked in on. So if you're shaming others for the way that they dress, it's probably because there are some other areas where you're being a little harsh on yourself. And it has nothing to do with the way that they're dressing. It has everything to do with you. So check in on yourself and allow people to just be on their own journey, right? We don't all have to be the same to respect each other. And number five, I truly, truly believe this. I believe that God looks at the heart. So if your conscience is clear before him and your posture is reverent, then you are free. For the longest time, I was uncertain about how I would feel dressing in Miami. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I feel like people are going to judge me if I start showing a little more skin because I live in Miami, and I just posted a whole bunch of content about dressing more modestly, and a lot of my clothes are more modest. And so like I'm like, I can't go back. I can't go back. But the truth of the matter is you can. You can adjust the way you dress whenever you want. You can change up your whole identity, your whole image. But again, check in on your heart. Where is your heart at in all of this? Do you feel like you are dressing for the right reasons, or are you doing it for your ego? So I want to offer some encouragement to the women who want to honor God, but you don't want to be legalistic about it. You are not wrong for wearing shorts in the heat. You are not less holy because you decide to wear a swimsuit on the beach. God is not watching the length of your skirt. He's watching the intention of your heart. So walk in the spirit, check in on your heart posture, check in with God, and let him guide your conscience. And when in doubt, ask him, does this reflect the woman I am becoming in you? In Proverbs 31:25, it says, she is clothed with strength and dignity, and she laughs without fear of the future. I hope this video was helpful for some of you women to determine what modesty looks like for you. I, on the other hand, am so excited to be moving to Miami. I'm excited to wear the cute frilly dresses and the crop tops, and maybe even showing just a little bit more skin, because I feel comfortable and I know that I'm doing it with a clear conscience, with a clear heart. God knows my heart, and he knows my intent behind the way that I dress. And I feel confident in that. And I hope you find confidence in the way that you dress too. You don't have to look like a hobo to honor God. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel and you like this type of content where we are learning what it is like to live out in faith as a godly woman, exploring our creativity, our fashion, our passions, and we're just trying to learn how to live a better life, then make sure you hit that like and subscribe, show some love and support, and I will see you on the next episode. Mwah.